And we are live there. What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday night. It's Gun News Weekly. Getting ready to tune into the live show. Appreciate everybody tuning in on a Thursday night. And if you want to watch the full show with Casey and Ross, head on over to the Tac Daddy channel. Seems to be a little more chatter over there. Go watch us over on Gun News Weekly as well. And we're about ready to get this thing started. You guys ready?
Yeah, man.
All right. All right. No tacky TK.
So you got this running on the Gun News Weekly right now.
We should be live there. Yep, we got a few viewers there. Got a few people on Facebook.
We have a few.
And then here we go live on the real deal to make this whole thing happen, I guess, what you say. Bam. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Once again, on the Gun News Weekly channel, if you want to see the whole show, go on over to Kevin the Tac Daddy. We're going live there. That's where these guys are. And we are live. It seems like we're talking about cops a lot tonight. A couple of stories you might not have heard. Shout out to LTVcombat.com and keybar.us. They sponsor the show every week. Keybar samples coming in, giveaways soon. Make sure you go check out everydaycarrylife.com. What's up? Happy Thursday. Ross is in the house. What's going on, brother?
Man, just glad to be here. Almost Friday. Hope everybody in the chat's had a good week. Hope everybody watching's had a good week. Join us in the chat tonight over on Kevin the Tac Daddy's page or the Gun News Weekly YouTube page. We're chatting on both those.
And also gun channels if you get a chance. Casey, what's happening, brother?
Yep.
What's up, guys? Good stuff.
Yeah.
10 days after the election, you know, things are calming a bit.
I don't know. We can talk about that later in the show. I don't know if things are calming or.
I'm talking about, you know, in my social circles.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Woof.
It's been an interesting couple of weeks around here. Let me tell you, it's just in general, all over the place. Something that we wanted to mention in addition to checking out Everyday Carry Life, head on over to TacDaddy.com. Check out the $250 holiday shopping spree we've got going. It's simple. You hit the page, you click like on a couple things, and you're in. You know, you put your name in, your email address, you're good to go. Chance to win a $250 gift certificate that you can use at TacDaddy.com or everydaycarrylife.com for the holidays. We'll give it away live on the show, guys, and there's already going to be a secondary prize, which is going to be like a prize pack, a swag pack, and I think Keybar is now in on a third place prize. Will be one of the choice Keybars that we're getting in as giveaways. So there you go. Make sure you check that out and support us by putting in your info. We won't bug you with stuff. Let's get to some gun news. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, let's start with this video from Florida. I don't know if you heard about this, but all of a sudden they shut down this this Interstate 75 off-ramp because a guy was beating up a cop. Had jumped out. Here's the story. Let's share the video.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff to talk about. It's a very interesting story.
More about a shooting on I-75 yesterday that left a man dead and a Lee County Sheriff's deputy hurt. It happened at the Corkscrew Road exit right off 75. The southbound ramp closed all day while detectives investigated at the scene.
Witnesses say they saw a high-speed chase in the area on I-75 involving a car and a Lee County Sheriff's deputy. And when that car finally stopped, they say the driver, 53-year-old Edward Strother, got out of his car and attacked that deputy. Strother was shot and killed by another driver whose identity is still unknown tonight. 4 News Reporter's Carl Fortier has been following this story since yesterday.
No offense to Mr. Fortier, but he says the same exact thing they just said, and then he starts talking to this guy.
Saying that you hope that Good Samaritan does not face negative repercussions for his actions. I spoke to one local expert about that.
Florida law protects individuals in the use of deadly force or any force if they're justified.
And private investigator Walt.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
He froze up on me. Well, let's get rid of him. Uh-oh. Let's see if it'll let me stop it. Good thing is I got a backup channel running. Oh, there we go. We'll shut those down. I got a couple processes that ended up running in the background for some reason. It happens when you go to all these different channels. Sometimes when you're running
Yeah, everything just freezes off.
yeah,
Oh yeah, when you're running that many channels.
No, what happens is it's the different media channels that you go to, and then their video playbacks are trying to feed you different things as well, and it overwhelms your memory. I think we should be good. Let's see. Oh, and there goes Casey. Ross, you still with me, bro?
Yeah, I'm here.
Long story short, that guy, he was driving down the street and he saw a cop literally on the ground getting beat up. And all he knew how to do was pull out his gun, give him some warnings. The guy did not listen to his warnings, and he ended up having to shoot him.
Yeah, we've often asked the question, what would you do? You know what I mean?
Yep.
If you saw an officer in need, would you put yourself in harm's way to help an officer?
It's a good question. I think I'm back.
I think it's hard to answer that question without actually been presented with that scenario.
A lot of the witnesses says there was really no clear choice, but someone needed to help this guy because he was going to get beat up to death. Literally is what they said. Sorry about the bump there.
Yeah.
That video, for whatever, loaded up a bunch of pop-ups, started popping up like crazy. All right, let's go to another story. And again, kudos to the guy. He's remaining anonymous, so we don't know who to thank. But thank goodness that cop was not killed. It's unfortunate that the guy that decided to have that day and jump out of a car, pull a cop out of his car, jump on him, mount him, and start to pound him to the point that a fellow citizen had to save him. I'm sorry he made those decisions that day. But
yeah, I mean, in this day and age, it takes even more bravery because, after the fact, you help the guy.
okay.
And you're kind of a hero. You've got a whole other set that, come after you for what you've done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll bet you there will be negative repercussions for what he did at some
Absolutely.
level. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Florida's pretty stand your ground and Castle Doctrine and you.
No, I'm not talking about in terms of legal. I'm talking about in terms of Black Lives Matter or
just keep it
any of
quiet.
these other movements.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
The social movements.
Yeah, the public lynching that'll happen.
Gotcha.
Right.
That's why he's staying anonymous. And thank God that Florida's got the Good Samaritan law, we'll call it. And I believe that's what he did call it, but kind of applies for situations like medical situations too. If you show up first and you try to help, and they can't do anything for you. So that's great that Florida's got that kind of protection for us.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, just imagine the scrutiny that you do the right thing. You feel like you do the right thing, and then it can just completely go sideways on you. It has to go into your decision-making process. It's just, I don't know.
Well, we had that story, a couple weeks ago. Hold on, I'm trying to fix this box. We had that story a couple weeks ago when we were talking about it, guys, that it was the police officer that did not pull the weapon, and she later stated, I didn't want my family to have to go through the nightmare of me being someone who shot somebody.
Absolutely.
All right, let's shift gears. You guys remember St. Anthony, Minnesota police officer Geronimo Yanez? He was the guy that was going to be charged and has been charged with manslaughter for the death of Philando Castile. Do you remember the girl?
I saw
the girl who was on Facebook. I'll share this one if I can. Just a bit of it, not all of it. Remember this one?
Stay with me. We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back. And the police he's covered. He killed my boyfriend. He's licensed. He's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet, out his pocket, and he.
Well, anyway, there's the video, and you can see the rest of it if you want to go search it. But
What was it, second-degree manslaughter? Is what they?
it looks like he'll face 3 charges for shooting him. His conclusion was that use of deadly force by Officer Yanez was not justified. He was charged Wednesday with second-degree manslaughter and 2 felony counts of dangerous discharge of a firearm.
My opinion on this is you need to be held accountable for your actions. Both sides of the fence need to be held accountable for their actions.
Sure.
And if he truly was negligent, then, I mean, we should be holding our cops to a higher standard as far as that goes. If he's guilty, he should be charged. As much as I hate to say that, you got to say it, right?
Yeah.
True. Here's the interesting thing. These are all officer-related stories, and they're all different tonight. But the next one's really interesting because because of the brouhaha with the election, no one really paid attention to the fact, or at least in my opinion and some other friends of ours' opinions that have been watching this stuff. 8 deadly days for 8 police officers across America, and not really a peep on the media because of the election. But basically, if you go back to the beginning of this month, just the beginning of this month, it started on a Thursday in Pennsylvania, where 2 Canonsburg police officers were shot as soon as they approached the front of a residence when they checked a report about a domestic abuse. They were shot. Tuesday, the officer was killed while confronting a man in Arizona. They confronted a man. The guy shot the kid, killed the police officer. Sunday, 2 Georgia deputies killed right after a neighbor's dispute. 2 sheriff deputies in Central Georgia were fatally shot Sunday as they responded to a dispute between neighbors. Sheriff deputies aged 41 and 39 were called to a road to 2 people were riding a motorcycle before we did. The gunman shot the deputies when they arrived around 5:30, and they died that day at a hospital. The next Sunday, an officer was killed by a vehicle. A Utah police officer was killed by a Sunday morning was hit by a vehicle and killed while trying to stop 3 people suspected of stealing a car. Friday, an NYPD officer killed, another injured in a Bronx shootout. And then on November 2nd, 2 Iowa officers shot and killed in their cars. We did kind of cover that story as a big one back when it happened. Almost all of these things, it was some sort of an ambush. And the other thing that's interesting about this is none of the shooters were black, and therefore it wasn't covered on the national news for some reason. That's my assessment, my opinion.
Yeah.
And I just read off a laundry list of all these cops have been shot, killed, hurt, all this stuff. And in the past, when that happens, and there's Ross, back to our conversation from last week, the media is pushing this agenda hard.
Be very hard. Yeah, absolutely. And it only applies, they'll only report on it when it's a cop killing a citizen. And it's got to be a specific parameters too. You know what I mean? It's just not any citizen. It has to follow a strict script, and then it's reported like it happens all the time. Yet our cops are getting killed. Our cops are being ambushed, Kevin. Think about that. Literally ambushed. And the media is dead silent about it.
They pick the news and the narrative.
Absolutely. Well, I think they're given a narrative. I don't want to get too political, but I think they're given a narrative because they're all owned by somebody, and they run with that narrative. Let's hope that changes.
We're going to keep an eye on it, of course. Now, here's a story we didn't talk about. It got posted on the Gun News Weekly Facebook page. Make sure you check that out. And once again, if you join if you go into the giveaway, you're gonna start to see this in your feed. This is an interesting one. It's going to open up a can of worms 1/4 after the hour. We'll see how long it lasts. Might be a minute, might be a while. I don't know. This is from CBS, San Francisco Bay Area. Feds advise gun dealers to halt sales to possible marijuana users. The trend towards legalized marijuana in the U.S., now more than half of the states allowing either recreational or medicinal use of pot. Federal laws have not changed, and anyone who acknowledges using marijuana can't legally buy a gun. The Wall Street Journal reports that the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, has advised licensed gun dealers that if they have any reason to believe a would-be buyer is a marijuana user, it's the gun dealer's responsibility to halt the transaction. Let's remember that.
Still a federal crime.
Let's remember
Even
that
in those
point right there.
states.
Hold on. Let's remember that point right there because there's a form you fill out. Let's remember that form. Continuing, marijuana is still. Some things are popping up again. I'm good. Marijuana is still classified as a Schedule I controlled substance with no approved medical use, has a high potential and has use and a high potential for abuse, according to a federal law. The DEA reaffirmed this classification in August, which is absolutely preposterous. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
The situation has led to some unusual political alliances. I don't need to get into that. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals recently ruled that banning gun sales to medical marijuana users doesn't violate their Second Amendment rights.
Is there I know that these marijuana laws are state driven and there's that whole federal, anyway, let's say you have a medical marijuana card in California and didn't they just vote for recreational use as well?
They did.
Okay,
They didn't vote for it. They passed it.
Right. Okay. So I'm assuming there's a database somewhere if you're a medical marijuana card holder.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I'm just wondering how many people have been turned down thus far. I don't know. I don't have issues with marijuana. I think it needs to be reclassified.
The problem is the federal government won't be about that. And that's where the snafu comes into play. And they technically aren't doing anything to your rights because you're a criminal at that point. Class 1 controlled substance, you're a felon at that point.
Now, Ross, you're
not allowed to own guns anyway.
You're the one out of us that lives in a state that allows recreational.
Oh yeah,
everything.
Full blown. Yeah, you can go into the store and just buy it. Yeah.
So you can just go buy it, and if you have a card, you can buy it, grow it.
No, you can grow. Okay, so Colorado state law says you can grow up to 99 plants on your property as just an individual. Anything over that, you need a license.
There's a Jay-Z lyric in there for you, Casey, somewhere. At 99.
Casey's like Colorado.
Yeah, 99. All right, so wait. So you can grow there, and they just went to the gun dealers in your state. The feds just went to your gun dealers in the state and said, according to this article,
so
that if
though,
the dealers, hold on, so now they're putting it on the gun dealers. They're putting it on the people that have the licenses that are granted to them, that FFL is granted to the gun dealer, that is dependent on that for his livelihood, correct? To be able to sell. They're now putting it on him and his staff, according to this, if they have any reason to believe a would-be buyer is a marijuana user. So if some guy goes in with a Grateful Dead shirt on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What, if you got a Bob Marley shirt on, you don't get to buy a gun?
There you go. So there's the question. There's the question. And then
what kind of recourse do they have if he did sell him a gun? Some bad happens, and they go back and say, "Oh, well, he's a pot user. I didn't know."
Well, let's let everybody that's unaware of the fact that has never gone through the process of buying a gun that might watch this. You fill out a form as the purchaser of the gun and asks you, "Are you addicted to any illegal substances?" And it lists a bunch of it. And you write.
But addicted and use addicted is in the eyes of the user.
That's a good point.
I believe our form asks about marijuana. Are you a user of marijuana or any other controlled substance? I believe is.
I think that's how it is. Yeah. Here.
Well, it's going to be an interesting battle over there, starting in San Francisco. If that's what they start to do over there, it'll be interesting to see if anyone puts their foot down.
Here's the funny thing about the whole thing, though, because it's a federal crime. You can't use credit cards. It's a cash-only business, which means that basically, besides the money that changes hand being accounted for, you can't account for the people that are recreationally doing this. They kind of set it up federally in such a way that being able to positively identify somebody as a recreational user in Colorado anyway is damn near impossible.
All right, well, let me switch gears to a different state that's going through something different that I think these two stories really are intertwined if you think about it. Thanks to our friends over, where's this one on? Controversial Times. Kansas vet facing federal gun charges for following Kansas law. And the short and long of the story here is that Kansas has its own law. However, federal law trumps the state law. That's called the Supremacy Clause. We have a long history of what legal scholars like to call precedent. That's what this article says. So long story short, Kansas has something called the Second Amendment Protection Act, which was designed to protect the rights of Kansas gun owners. The law eliminated pretty much all regulations on firearms for Kansas residents. At the time of its passing in 2013, the law was seen as a big win, at least to those who thought it actually meant something. Because what happened was federal agents got winds of some Kansans, how do you say that one? Kansans, who were breaking federal laws, and they filed charges. And now one of these guys, this guy Jeremy Kettler, is an Army veteran. Has the misfortune of believing that his home state's laws were going to trump the federal laws, which they have not. He picked up a suppressor head that had been made in Kansas. The man that is making the suppressors has also been charged. He tested the suppressor, kept it in his possession, and even posted a video. And under Kansas law, he's allowed to have it. Under federal law, under the National Firearms Act, not so much. So this guy, because he thought the NFA was null and void because, according to Kansas, living in Kansas, you have the Second Amendment Kansas thing. Long story short, the ATF showed up, and they're moving against the man who made the suppressors and for the person for the Army vet who put it out there.
When the feds want to enforce something, the feds enforce it. Going back to the previous thing about the pot, when Colorado first went legal, there was a guy that was bragging about his grow and blah, 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 blah. And the feds came in, shut him down, and put him in jail. Although there's 50 other dispensaries next door to the guy that literally picked on this one guy, put him in jail, took his stuff, and boom, and left. Left everybody else alone, just picked on him because he was bragging about his situation. But it just goes to show you, man, when the feds want to act or make you an example, they will.
Yeah, the sovereign will of Kansas is being questioned is really the issue. They're gonna again, they'll go back and forth against it. It's a complex issue. We'll see what happens. There's a strong possibility that let's see. This guy's facing a problem. I mean, it's a problem. You just can't do those types of things if your state says that. The feds rule firearm classification and ownership in America. It's that simple. All right. We had a tragedy this past week. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it's just another call to action for anybody that's out there that's a gun owner that's not being safe with their guns. Police in Indianapolis say a 4-year-old girl accidentally shot herself and her mother Sunday morning.
Ugh.
The girl grabbed the gun from her parents' nightstand and pulled the trigger. The girl was struck in the cheek, and the police say the bullet hit her mom in the head. Both were taken to the hospital. Both are in stable condition.
Jeez.
And
It's a sad story right there.
it's not sure it's not clear yet if the parents are going to face any charges or not. We will find out, I'm sure, and be able to report back on that in coming weeks. Let's reset real quick.
Yeah,
About
you really can't get careless with guns. You know what I mean? Especially if you got small kids in the house. I mean, that goes without saying, but maybe you do have to say it. Almost seems like weekly you hear about something like that happening.
Yep.
How old was you? Said a 4-year-old?
4, yeah.
Gotcha.
No bueno. All right. Plans to rob a woman in Newark, New Jersey turned out the wrong way for a couple of gentlemen last Thursday night. The 43-year-old woman they decided to go after was a retired detective with the New York City Police Department. She retired about 9 months ago. She was walking to her car at 9:30 at night. She was approached. One was armed with a handgun. It's going to be a common thread in these next two stories as well, guys. The suspect accosted the woman and demanded she hand over cash, but instead of complying, she grabbed her own gun and fired at the suspect, striking them both. Cops were called. They got chased down. Both were arrested. 22-year-old and 27-year-old assailants, and they were released for treated and released from the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries, and then they were both taken to jail where they were charged with robbery, conspiracy, and possession of a weapon for unlawful purpose. Here's the kicker. At the scene, the authorities recovered the gun used in this robbery, which turned out to be a replica, not a real gun. In a similar incident last month, a would-be robber was shot in the groin while attempting to rob a tobacco shop in Garfield, New Jersey, about 15 miles away from this incident. The shop owners, who is a retired NYPD detective, seems like everybody has that on their resume. Did everyone that lives in New York and New Jersey?
I mean, you got to think, how many active NYPD officers are there?
Like hundreds of thousands?
Isn't it like 60, 70, 80,000?
I think it's as big as
Like
the IDF.
Every time you go to New York, you see 15 officers hanging out, talking on the corner of every block.
Every corner.
Every one of them.
There was a pizza shop owner. He's like, hey, I'm done with I'm going to open up a pizza shop. He opens up the pizza shop. 27-year-old Louis Peasy comes in arms with a handgun and demanded money. The struggle happens. The guy pulls his own gun, shoots the guy. This was a BB gun that the guy walked in with. Can't fix.
We just had a article about that a couple weeks ago about a kid who robbed some for what, $10 or something like that with a replica gun and ended up getting himself shot.
We've had a few of them over the last year.
It's crazy, man. And there's somebody actually out of the chat says you'd probably be surprised how often replica guns are used in crime.
I'm sure.
Again, what's easier to get than a replica gun? I mean, you can get it at most athletic stores, Sports Authority, those types of places. You can get really very real looking. Good looking,
realistic. Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. They make a damn realistic.
Not to mention this. There's this crazy thing called the internet. Well, they'll bring it to your house.
Yeah,
it's pretty simple to get a replica.
Yeah, right.
Probably the easiest thing. Yeah, to do.
Well,
not a good decision.
Like Baltimore, I know I'm probably leading into this a little early, but places like Baltimore are banning those replica guns.
Right. A little bit before 1/2 reset real quick. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Facebook, Gun News Weekly, and over on Kevin the Tech Daddy. Please share this with everybody that you know. Push it out for us. It helps us out a bunch. Shout out to our sponsors, Keybar and L2D Combat. Make sure you go check out their websites. In the second half here, we're going to be talking about something the TSA did that was pretty good. Some of our biggest anti-gunners out there from Moms Demand Action are digging in their heels. A little bit about Trump tonight, something he had to say about guns. Some stuff from Mississippi. A huge story about how much money the NRA made and what that means. And a couple other little things. Might even wrap it up a little early tonight. And then a video about one of these anti-Trump rallies where the car ran over the girl on the highway. I know. Did you guys see that one?
Yeah,
I sure did.
Check that out at the end of the show if we have time. All right, let's start here. I've been hesitant in the past, but it's on record that the TSA really hasn't stopped much crime since they started at airports. But there's a story here that 2 men in unrelated incidents were caught at a Baltimore airport with loaded guns in the past couple of weeks. And it was a BWI.
TSA caught him?
BWI discovered a loaded .38 caliber handgun in one guy and that was going to Vegas. He claimed he had no idea whose gun it was or how it got there. A second man was arrested on Sunday after TSA officers discovered a loaded .22 caliber handgun in his carry-on. He said he just simply forgot that it was there.
I could totally. I mean, I ended up at the airport one time with, and actually it went through on my carry-on. I had a magazine to a Glock 17
There's a
that was full.
when we went to New York last time, we flew in from Fort Lauderdale to New York, and I had a extra backup mag for my LCP with
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
got
It's
it
loaded.
through. Got it through.
I'm gonna tell you what my thoughts on this are. My thoughts are these are two plants that they did because their reputation is so pathetic that these are two plants that they put in there knowingly and set this up.
This
Only
conspiracy moment.
theories.
This conspiracy moment is brought to you by Ross and Ross only.
But
Ross,
dude, they missed 90. They missed 90. Admittedly, missed 95% of everything that goes through. And you're going to tell me in a week they catch 2 of them? I don't think so.
In the same
Ross
airport. They
tinfoil hat
did
on.
one. They did one. Ross.
Did Hillary start working for the TSA or
Ross.
something?
They did one, and they were like, "It worked. Let's do it again."
Right. We got a lot of good press off that.
That's
They bought it.
Hey, does anybody have a 22? Because that's like dangerous.
Y'all know about my girlfriend, right?
Your girl.
Oh, yeah, Shannon.
I got some. Yeah, Ross knows about my girlfriend.
If only her views were different.
I tell you, she's not. I don't hate her. I'd like to talk to her in person.
I did.
Yeah.
In case like I do. Well, we're talking about Shannon Watts.
If you have hate in your heart, let it out.
I tease. She has said that Trump won't silence us, and they have decided to dig in their heels and make this a strong point of contention that we were very hopeful that a strong anti-gun woman was going to get into the White House and really help us make a difference. They really had high hopes, and the disappointment has led to them reinvigorating, so to speak. Basically, she's got a bunch of quotes here, so I'll read them. She did a piece with the Huffington Post. Quote, so many women and activists had hoped to elect the first female president, a gun sense champion, to the White House. She went along, quote, I, along with millions of other moms and Americans, made a solemn vow to never again be silent on gun violence, and we won't break that vow just because Donald Trump won an election.
Did you see where Rachel Maddow went after the NRA?
Ooh, not yet. I don't want
Oh,
to take
God.
her on, too, because I feel bad for her because it's so easy. It's got to be so easy to take her on. But anyway, she said that she's used to the adversity because she faces vitriol from gun extremists who have, quote, bought into the gun lobby's lies that stronger gun laws somehow violate the Second Amendment. She calls it nonsense, noting that, quote, background checks work, and 90% of Americans support common sense gun safety laws. Taking that sentence apart is just silly. 90% of America support something? Really? Where's that coming from, first of all? Second of all,
Well, it's on the surface.
gun
It sounds
safety
okay.
laws.
Let's use common sense. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
We got to use common sense. If you're not using common sense, you're stupid.
Yeah.
In
You know what?
theory.
I'm going to give you my favorite line of this whole thing. All the research I've done this week on Shannon Watts and her big whiny
What's up, Jay?
bitch session is this. What the 2016 election demonstrates is the anti-rights organizations are the paper tigers we suspected them to be all along. If Watts and people like her want to do real good, we'll be here. Otherwise, we'll continue winning without them. And that comes from an article posted on guns.com.
Well, guess what, Ross? She wrote right back. The fight is just beginning, and an army of angry mothers will be there every step of the way to fight the extremists. I think that's us. And dangerous guns everywhere agenda of the NRA and President-elect Trump.
Oh,
These last few days have been tough, she said, but we are tougher because nothing less than our
Right.
children's lives are at stake. That was the.
I'd like to know who funds them.
Come on, man.
And
We know who funds them. That's
well,
things get
Bloomberg, Ross.
shut off.
That's
Bloomberg.
Bloomberg, Ross. 100%. Shannon, open invite anytime. We'd love to have you on. I'd love to do a one-on-one with you. Interview.
Interview.
I said one-on-one. That sounds like either basketball or something that I shouldn't be talking about.
One-on-one, baby.
But Yeah, she's the big advocate for gun safety. I'm a big advocate for everyone.
Gun safety.
Gun safety, exactly. I think we're probably a lot more similar than she knows or thinks. I could be wrong. I guess we'll stay a little political for Ross. We're gonna have to put a cutoff date of like maybe Thanksgiving or Christmas, depending.
I'm really trying to decompress from the political stuff, but man, my feed is so full of political bullshit. It's gonna take me 6 months to clear my feed of all the junk. Until then, I'm pretty much screwed.
Well, this story is called LGBT Gun Control Group.
Wait a minute, what?
Which is mind-boggling to me that there is such a thing, because you would think that the LGBT community would be at the range learning how to protect themselves, because if they're feeling like they're going to be attacked or they know they're going to be persecuted, they have the same rights we do to protect themselves. But I won't go there. Gun control, LGBT, they left out the Q.
And the plus?
They left them out. Gun Control Group promises, quote, direct action if Trump drops gun-free zones.
What does direct action exactly imply?
I don't want to know.
I got stuck. I've read that article like 3 times today, but it just hit me. Yeah, they're promising direct action.
Yeah, they are.
But let's go back to a thing from a year ago, almost a year ago, January 7th, 2016. Here's what Trump said.
Donors to a sicko, that's bait. That's like gun-free zone. And then they walk in with whatever the hell they're carrying. And these 5 great soldiers, and I'm telling you, one of them was one of the most highly awarded one. He was super shot. He's not allowed to have a gun. All 5 are killed instantaneously. And you have other cases. I will get rid of gun-free zones on schools, and you have to. And on military bases, my first day, it gets signed, okay? My first day. There's no more gun-free zones. I mean, think of it. A gun-free zone on a military base with some of the best soldiers we have, sitting there, relaxing, watching television, no gun, guy walks in, kills all of them, okay? That ends immediately.
Okay, so those are pretty strong words. Now, at the same time, we all know that there's a lot of campaign promises made by everybody all the time. Be interesting to see if that's one that he can actually open up nationally. Shannon's going to say no.
I was asking in the pre-show, who decides what areas are gun-free, and what kind of legislation is there behind that? Do you have any idea?
Well, we were saying there's state laws. There's state laws. There's a list of places in Florida where I'm not allowed to carry with a concealed carry permit, where I'm not allowed to take a firearm.
It seems like
However, not all of those places listed, Ross, are regulated, meaning there's not people there with wands and metal detectors. Now, some of them there are, but many of them there's not. If you choose to go in, hold on, let me finish. If you choose to go into one of those places and there was a sign and you didn't see the sign, whether you did or you didn't, and someone says, hey, you've got a gun on you, we see you printing, you're not allowed to be here with a gun, you have to leave. Otherwise, they can charge you with trespassing if you don't leave. I know there's a couple people here watching me from Florida. Back me up on this if I'm missing any details here. If you don't leave, then they can get you for trespassing, which is actually a felony. So keep that in mind. If you choose to, again, go to a place where they say, like a school. Now, they've changed some of the school, like the school car lines have been changed. I don't have to get out of my car and put it in my trunk. And, like if I get in, pick them up and take off, we're good to go. So they've changed a few things along the way, Ross. I know that it's state by state, is to answer your question. And then it's business owner, board of directors, stockholders, all kinds of different people have influence on things. Like, think about it, like Buffalo Wild Wings and places like that have put up policies. Starbucks, which put up a policy that says we prefer that you don't. I mean, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's also in a public place like that, or in a place that's privately owned like that. It's at their discretion always. I mean, it's private. It's at their discretion.
Sure.
But they also you're not going to do jail time if they find you with a gun unless you cause a scene. Which
Well,
whatever.
yeah, but it seems like with the military bases and the military recruitment offices, all of that, I guess, well, not the recruitment offices, but isn't that even the recruitment offices, is that considered federal property at that point? And wouldn't it be, I wonder how military bases became gun-free zones to begin with. Is that something?
No common sense if you think about it, Casey. Those kids that's their job, is to pick up a weapon and kill people. You know what I mean? Why in the world would you limit them at home not to be able to carry
when you look at the Israeli model, it's ludicrous that that's what we do to a military base here.
But I'm wondering who came up with that. I mean, and I would think military bases, the commander-in-chief could easily make that gun-free zone go away at military bases. But who came up with the idea that? I don't know. I mean, what?
I'm sure it was. I don't know for sure.
I mean, I'm sure there's some good arguments against it too. Like PTSD. I don't know. I mean, they've probably got some good arguments as to why not. But
I don't buy any of them. I don't buy any of them.
I don't either, because a workplace violence, again, you're only stopping the law-abiding people from being able to protect themselves, because that law is not going to apply to somebody who doesn't want to abide by it.
At a base overseas, they're not. Again, at a base overseas, you don't think those people should all be? I mean, they get the.
They are. They have to be, from what I know. Yeah, overseas they have.
Overseas, yeah, it's considered a war zone, an active. But yeah, I don't see why a recruitment base, a recruitment facility like here, we've got an Army one and a Marine Corps one, and they kind of share a place, but it's split. But, I mean, there's no reason that those guys can't carry there. That's ludicrous.
All right, let me finish this.
That's the requirement. That's what our government does. It's those common sense gun laws that don't make any common sense whatsoever.
Right.
Well, let's talk about this.
If anybody's trained to carry a gun, it's those guys.
Absolutely, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right?
Even more so than law enforcement.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the article and the direct action that's promised. One Pulse for America is the name of the group. An LGBT-centric gun control group founded while Trump was on the campaign trail still wants to make sure the gun prohibitions remain in place. One Pulse director, Lad Everett, said in a statement that he emailed to guns.com, quote, "This is not acceptable. The safety of our children is of paramount importance to us. We will not tolerate Trump and the NRA, who spent more than $20 million for Trump this election cycle, putting them at risk in order to further the gun industry profits." So their argument is that the NRA represents the gun companies, which, again, of course they do. They represent the gun companies and the people who buy the guns. They act like it's a big card that they can play. The group, which claims over 74,000 members, is prepared to take a stand to include, quote, "direct nonviolent action if necessary," to oppose any attempt by the Trump administration and Congress to remove federal protections for gun-free zones around schools. So they're really going hard on this school thing, talking about we expect our elected officials in the nation's capital to vote against any effort to eliminate gun-free zones at our K-12 schools, and we'll hold them accountable for their actions. So
I want to know why nobody can debate these guys and ask them that question. Ask them the question, why? Why not? Well, because it keeps guns away from our kids. But it only keeps the people who would protect your children without guns away from your kids. It doesn't keep harmful people away from your kids. It's just so backward ass thinking, man. It's about time we got rid of that non-common sense thinking.
Agreed. All right, a couple more quick stories. We'll wrap up for the night. The NRA. We talk about them from time to time. The NRA, how much money do you think they made last year, Casey?
I wouldn't even begin to guess.
Actually, let's call it a surge year of 2013 is the numbers we're looking at. Forgive me, it wasn't last year.
I mean, in a metric shit ton.
It was $91 million more than the year before.
Wow.
Wow.
So
That's a big increase.
the number, it's the Sandy Hook jump, basically, but you're looking at a $348 million business in the year 2013.
I can only imagine what it is today with the surge in gun growth.
The gun industry's lobby, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I read the wrong paragraph that I was looking for. So, God, they make a lot of money off of a lot of different things, from donations, fees, ads, and the NRA Cafe. So check this out. Listen, Casey, you love this breakdown. Their line item sheet. Of the $348 million, the gun lobby spent $290,000 on expenses. 290, 550, 357 on expenses, which accounts for $84,000 on grants. I'm sorry, it's 200. God, oh no, I'm sorry. Dan, these numbers are wrong. Hold on. They say it's $84,000 on grants, $7 million on professional fundraising, $56 million on salaries and employee benefits, and $227 million on, quote, other expenses. Think about that. So you're paying everybody $56 million, and take 4 times that, and we're going to put that over here in other.
Yeah.
What do you think that's for? Other.
That's bad.
Other got a $34 million boost from the year before. And they say it's members' communications, printing and shipping, general operations, and various administrative details. The lobbying arm was $27 million, and 3.4 was spent on actual lobby for policy change, according to Open Secrets, a political spending watchdog group.
I would think the lobby would be much larger than that. But
I'm sure it is now. That's been a huge push over the last couple of years. Is the IRL or something like that?
Yeah, I would have been willing to bet that more than 50% of their money went to the lobby.
These numbers are public. Wayne LaPierre, the NRA's chief executive officer and executive vice president, received $984,000.
Wow.
The junior treasurer, Wilson Phillip, raked in $2.869 million.
Wilson Phillips? The NRA?
That's because he's the junior treasurer. He
hold on for one more day?
Hold on.
Oh, Kevin, I got bad news,
and
man.
Chris Cox made $800 large. Say again?
I said that directive came from George Bush, actually, to ban firearms on military bases. It's just an
update. Are you
serious?
Interesting.
Yeah, it surprises me. Thanks, Dan, by the way.
Here's another little nugget that's a good breakdown for people interested in NRA stats. So the NRA is by far the largest pro-gun outfit out there. The NSSF made $34 million. The Second Amendment Foundation pulled in $5.8 million. Now, the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence made $4 million. Every Town for Gun Safety made $1 million.
Basically, that's Bloomberg cutting the check.
Yeah. And so you're going to think about that. So that $1 million for Every Town Gun Safety, you're talking about the administrators and all the people running it, all their salaries, then all the printing and stuff, and an office and overhead. That's $1 million. They're going through roughly 90 grand, 85 grand a month.
Mm-hmm.
How effective can they possibly be versus $340 some million coming in?
Now, well, they have a very small footprint, but they've got the media behind them. So the media pushes whatever they say. There's where that's the hidden payroll right there. Is the
That's a good point.
media.
You guys,
Carolina just blocked a field goal and ran it back for a touchdown.
who you
That's
watching, the
pretty
pro
amazing.
game or the college game?
Pro game, Carolina just blocked it, ran it back for touchdown.
All right.
Never mind.
I got
Flag.
1, 2. Yeah. 3.
So I
Three
guess
goes
if George Bush stroked the pen to ban on military base, Trump could stroke the pen and take it the other way. I don't know.
Don't know.
Well, in the day and age of the executive order, right? I mean, that's kind of our cycle right now. He can do damn near whatever he wants to with that thing, right?
Sure. Sounds like he just needs to call our girls Wilson Phillips.
Maybe. Do you guys remember we talked about monkey balls?
Monkey
Oh,
balls.
this was
Yeah.
a while ago. You remember these things? Hold on.
Is that the self-defense? Yeah.
There
Monkey
they are.
fist.
Monkey fist? Is that what?
Monkey
that's it.
fist.
My
I
bad.
called a monkey ball.
My bad.
Monkey fist.
My bad. My head's in the gutter tonight. Is Florida ready for slung shots? That's the other thing they call them down here.
Yeah, aren't they illegal down there? The
No.
monkey fists?
It's it says basically that they'd like it to, they're trying to make it legal. It's a stretch of knotted rope that usually enclosing a steel ball or rock. And if you have this little item in your pocketbook, it can be considered an illegal concealed weapon.
I mean, come on.
This
Is
guy-
that taking a little too far? I mean,
Yes.
I can take a 2-liter bottle of Dasani water and it's 3/4 full and I could kill you with it.
It says
I mean,
here
like,
you can use the kitchen knife as a weapon too. So you're right there. Long story
I mean, come
short,
on.
they're gonna have to. It looks like it's gonna go somewhere. What are they talking about? Yeah, Senate sponsor Alan Hayes says the device is gaining new popularity as in the smartphone age. I didn't realize that this was kind of the technology that kids were looking for self-defense, but apparently it's going to go and be discussed in some of the different courts. Ross, this was the one that you were able to download. I wasn't able to download this thing called Red Zone.
Red Zone shocked me, actually. I was surprised at what goes on in my city.
All right, so what does it tell you? It is. You guys can see here. It's the
So
app.
to
It's a new
start,
app.
it's a great little like traffic app. It tells you, where traffic's bad, yada yada yada. But it also has a feature to show or hide crime in the area. And basically, what you see here, the red, the blue, and the orange dots there are all different crimes. Reds are shootings. The oranges are assaults.
Oh, Ross, I thought that I had seen that the map feature was to show you how to avoid the bad side of town, and it literally.
Well, it certainly can. Now, how you've got this red area shown on here.
Mm-hmm.
This may be like bad areas, but of course, I don't live in a major metropolitan area, so I don't have any red areas around me. But I have had a couple shootings over the last month or two, which surprised me. But kind of a cool little app, man. I didn't get a ton of time to play with it, but
Look at it. It
it's
says
free.
here, and if you're the kind who likes to live on the edge, this is Yahoo, and you don't care how you get to a certain destination, Red Zone will also show you a risky route you can take.
Does it show you like regional crack dealers and like
yeah, where you can get your
I need
where you
some
can get
rocks.
your heroin.
It says, in addition, the app could theoretically condition some users to avoid areas that happen to be minority communities, which is where the complaints of the discrimination could sprout up. Who knows why that's even in this article, to be honest with you.
Stupid.
But anyway,
Cool
there you
little
go.
app.
Red
I
Zone.
highly recommend you get it.
If you want to stay safe, there's Red Zone app. We saw that.
Yep.
Slung shot.
And fun. Yeah, that slingshot, man. Really, the government's gonna like tell you can't have some string in your pocket.
video,
What the hell?
I want some rocks.
Yeah, guy's got a rock and some string. God,
So-
he's dangerous.
Normally, I would think that like a snitching story would not be one that most people would be in favor of, especially in like jail communities. I don't know where that came from, but especially in certain other communities. But in this case, it definitely is something that's interesting to think about. Now, close to where I live is a place called Coral Springs, and in Coral Springs, 3 kids were recently given awards because they
For snitching?
Well, they have a policy around here called "See Something, Say Something." They even have it on some of the police vehicles. And these kids were at the school.
Get bitches.
And stitches.
Get stitches.
But in this case, it's a good one. They saw a kid, and the kid had his shirt went up, and one of the students saw what he thought was the handle of a pistol. He thought it was very clear that that's what he saw, and he went over to his two friends and he explained to them what he had seen. They decided to stealthily go and report it. The staff confronted this kid. He had a gun, and his buddy had also had a manifesto talking about killing everybody, basically.
Oh, shit.
So these three kids are seen as heroes, and again, they were able to get recognized with an award this week. And in that case, once again, I don't think that snitching is a bad thing at all.
No.
You know, in that kind of situation, especially in a gun-free zone, if you see someone that you know definitely should not have one, you need to do something.
Yeah, if you know for sure somebody should not have a gun, yeah, I think you have a responsibility to keep your fellow citizens informed anyway, you know?
Yes, sir.
Kids, yeah.
All right, so let's wrap it up tonight. One more time, anyone that's jumping in late, we've got this giveaway going on. We'll talk about this every week just to kind of pump people on it. And basically each week update will be the update to what we're adding to it. It's starting at $250 cash value at either of the stores. Pretty simple to get in. Go on over to tacdaddy.com, click on the banner, fill in your info. Very simple. Takes about 10 seconds, maybe 20 if you're slow. And you'll be entered to win. Hey, it is what it is. And that's, again, giving back for the holidays. I want somebody that watches us and supports us on Facebook and that kind of stuff to get some extra flow this coming up. In terms of our veteran website of the week to support, I wanted to again, it's one of those things where I hate to see this shit in my feed where a friend has lost a friend. It's someone that I won't even know, and it's a picture of one of our soldiers. And this one that was today was with a guy with his daughter. And again, guy looks like a total, again, without sounding stupid, guy looks like a total stud. And you're just like, oh my God, one of my buddies lost another friend. And this is a Ranger that, again, those guys go through a lot of shit together. And to think that there's feelings of guilt and that kind of thing, all I want to say is that we can't all possibly do everything. We can't all possibly keep up with every single person. Otherwise, all we do is be on the phone talking to people. But what I wanted to say, if there's someone that you haven't spoken to in a while that you can reach out to and rekindle a relationship with that might need you, that might be in a dark spot, please do so. Please give them a call. And please support anything from Mission 22 to Raven 23 to any of the other websites that we talk about throughout the year that have been supporting veterans this year. But this week, truly, please reach out to somebody that you know, make a phone call. Don't go to a website, make a phone call. I'd appreciate it. That being said, Takai, George Takai.
Tacky. That was Han Solo or Professor Solo or something.
It's Sulu.
Sulu. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I also wanted to shout out Jay, who's watching. Bring out the old M85 NP. This is something that, as a result of one of those Obama things that he pushed through, this weapon's no longer available. You can't. These are not being imported as a result of that import ban that he put out. This is something that I hope can be that I hope can be changed. With
is that the 223 variant?
It is a 223 5.56 variant.
Now that was done
Some nice wood.
Executive fiat, was it not, Kevin? That whole gun ban thing, the AK parts ban and all that was all done under executive fiat.
Correct. Well, it was certain imported from certain bloc countries. Da 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 da. I'm not an expert, but we could look it up and put and annotate it as soon as we get our Googler.
Don't say that, man. You got guys pissed off because they offered.
I actually have been thinking about this and doing some deep thought about this. Let's talk about this real quick. There you go. That's a cool weapon to shoot, though. It's fun.
It's an empty mag. That's gay.
It's a big one, though. I like the way it looked with the big mag.
Well, it's empty.
I don't have that one loaded. It's got stippling on the side, and it's not my favorite. All right, so anyway, what the hell are we going to talk about?
Googler?
Yes. So I think that what we should do is get anybody that's interested to shoot an email, message us on any social media or whatever, and say that you're interested in jumping on the panel to be the silent Googler.
Why don't you have like a Googler of the week?
I think what we should do is narrow it down to 3 or 4 potentials, and then give them each a week.
Yeah.
Get them in the mix.
So are you talking, Kevin? Are you talking like the not gay Jared position in the Crowder thing, or what are you talking?
The what?
Do you watch Steven Crowder at all?
No.
He's got not gay Jared. You know? Are you talking that position? What are you talking?
What does not gay Jared do at that position?
He basically is the Googler, in my opinion.
He doesn't say much unless he's asked.
He says, yeah, he checks on stuff and is there to fire back when asked.
All right, yeah. I'm not trying to. We don't need a slave, but we don't need
Right.
we don't need a personality pitching in ad hoc. We need someone that loves guns, that's familiar with different sources, and that's good at Googling. So when we say how many millions of gun owners are there in Kentucky right now, someone can figure that out on the fly for us. Put it in the chat. Say it real quick. Let us know.
Kind of like that on the Joe Rogan Experience, the Googler. Hey, bring up this. Bring up this.
He has a tech guy that does everything for him, and he's excellent.
Right.
So he's that. If we could have someone of that caliber working for free, what I can tell you is that a year after you start, you're going to be able to put on your resume that for a year.
Listen, I'm
you
not
were a
taking
part.
a salary cut.
I googled for Gun News Weekly.
Not only that, I'll put this out there. If the Googler's fantastic, we might even be able to get the Googler into SHOT Show a year out or something like that.
And your job, I'm the Googler.
I like that.
But you have to wear a hat that says the Googler.
GNW Googler.
Oh.
All right, that's it. Wrapping up. Couple minutes after the hour. Thanks again to our sponsors. Check out Lansing Tactical and Grizzly Targets too while you're at it. Thank you to Frank and everybody that supported us along the way. Ross, talk to you next week.
Yeah, man. Quick shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much. Great chat on both channels.
Later, Facebook.
Yeah, man. Great time. Thanks, guys. Love the support. Couldn't do it without you.
Facebook's going live. There we go. Facebook's all done. Casey, talk to you next time, bro.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa, biatches.
Bitches.
As he says. Appreciate everybody tuning in.
Dave Chappelle's back. Lovely.
He's not really back. He's just did that one thing. You love that one skit.
Oh, yeah.
I know you did. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks again. Until then, we're out. And we'll talk to you guys later on Gun News Weekly. Peace.